The polished gleam of the members-only sign at the Gilded Pin seemed to possess an almost selective invisibility. White patrons flowed through the entrance, their laughter echoing in the early evening air. But when Silas Blackwood, a 72-year-old veteran with skin the color of aged parchment, approached, the owner, a sharp-featured man named Julian Thorne, intercepted him. The next day, an unexpected assembly began to form. Not a protest, but a silent, disciplined gathering that would ripple through the quiet town of Oakhaven. Silas had dedicated 3 decades to the United States Army, his service spanning the humid battlefields of Southeast Asia. At 72, the ramrod-straight posture of his youth had softened into a gentle curve, his dark skin bearing the map of years spent under harsh skies. Though time had etched lines on his face and a persistent ache lingered in his knees, his eyes, the color of deep forest pools, held an unwavering kindness. Retiring to Oakhaven, a town known for its burgeoning community of former military personnel, Silas lived a modest life supported by his pension. His days were filled with quiet routines, tending his small garden, reading well-worn history books, and, until recently, the simple pleasure of a few frames at the local bowling alley. His wardrobe consisted of practical, comfortable clothes that mirrored his unassuming nature. Bowling, his physical therapist had suggested, would aid his mobility and offer a touch of social connection. Silas had found a quiet enjoyment in the rhythmic roll of the ball, a peaceful contrast to the cacophony of his past. He had encountered prejudice before, both during his service and in civilian life, responding with a stoic dignity, a lesson ingrained from his time in uniform. Few in Oakhaven knew of the Silver Star he'd earned or the quiet heroism that had saved countless lives during a long-forgotten border conflict. To his neighbors, he was simply a courteous elderly black man who always offered a polite greeting. The Gilded Pin, recently renovated into a swanky establishment with neon lights and a craft beer bar, had quickly become Oakhaven's social epicenter. Julian Thorne, its ambitious owner, had poured his savings into creating an exclusive atmosphere. Veterans Day was approaching, and Silas had looked forward to meeting 3 old comrades for an evening of friendly competition, a small, private commemoration of their shared history. He arrived early, wearing his best flannel shirt and neatly pressed trousers, a small, tarnished veteran's pin his only adornment. His calloused fingers brushed against it as he approached the entrance. "Excuse me?" Thorne's voice was smooth but firm, blocking Silas's path. "Do you have a membership?" Silas's gaze flickered to the entrance, where a young white couple was being ushered in without question. "I wasn't aware a membership was required. How might I obtain one?" Thorne's eyes scanned Silas's aged frame and simple attire. "We're not currently accepting new members. Our capacity is limited." His tone held a subtle condescension. "This establishment caters to a specific clientele." "I see," Silas said softly, the familiar sting of exclusion a dull ache in his chest. "Perhaps another time." "Indeed," Thorne replied, his gaze drifting towards a group of affluent patrons entering without hesitation. "There are other bowling alleys in the vicinity that might better suit your needs." Silas nodded. His shoulders, though slightly stooped, still held a trace of military bearing as he turned to leave Datamar. "Blackwood? Is that you, sir?" A voice, sharp with a hint of military cadence, halted Silas near the curb. A young woman, in civilian clothes, hurried towards him. "Captain Anya Petrova," she said, a flicker of a salute in her posture. "You probably don't remember me, but you spoke of my unit's welcome home ceremony last year." Silas's face softened into a warm smile. "Of course, Captain. How are things?" Anya's brow furrowed as she noted Silas's retreat from the Gilded Pin. "Were you leaving? I thought you enjoyed bowling." "They're at capacity today," Silas explained gently, his voice devoid of bitterness. That Anya's gaze swept towards the entrance, where patrons continued to enter freely. "That doesn't seem right." Their exchange drew the attention of 2 men exiting a nearby pickup truck, both wearing veteran baseball caps. "Everything okay here?" one asked, approaching with concern. Anya's voice tightened with indignation as she explained. "This is Mr. Blackwood. He's a decorated veteran. Recognition flashed in the eyes of the two men. Silas Blackwood, the Angel of Saigon? Sir, your actions during the Tet Offensive are legendary. Inside the gilded pin, Thorne had been observing the small gathering with growing unease. He stepped outside, a veneer of cordiality plastered on his face. There seems to be a misunderstanding. We would be honored to have you join us, sir. Silas straightened, a flicker of his old command presence returning. Thank you, but I believe I'll pass today. Sir, you shouldn't have to. Anya protested. It's all right, Captain, Silas said quietly. Some battles are best left unfought. The two veterans exchanged a look, then, without a word, removed their bowling shoes and handed them to a bewildered attendant. If Mr. Blackwood isn't welcome, one stated firmly, then neither are we. They flanked Silas as he walked away, a silent escort of solidarity. Within hours, the incident had become a wildfire across veteran networks. By the next afternoon, a quiet but powerful assembly began to form outside the gilded pin. Word had spread. They turned away Silas Blackwood. Retired General Eleanor Vance, a figure of immense respect within the veteran community, made a series of calls, her voice still carrying the unmistakable authority of command. No debate. Yes, that's Silas Blackwood. Tomorrow, 1,400 hours. Dress uniforms, service ribbons. Understood. At his modest home, Silas answered a knock to find General Vance and a small group of veterans on his doorstep. Mr. Blackwood, the general said with quiet authority, we need to discuss what happened. Silas invited them in, a touch of embarrassment in his demeanor. It's nothing, General. Truly, a young Marine veteran stepped forward. Sir, it's everything. It's about respect. We're not proposing a protest, General Vance clarified, noting Silas's unease. We're proposing a reminder. The next afternoon, the gilded pin was bustling. At precisely 2 p.m., the front doors opened, and two Marines in full dress blues entered, standing at parade rest near the entrance. Minutes later, Army, Navy, and Air Force personnel followed, forming a silent, disciplined line that stretched out the door and into the parking lot. Julian Thorne watched in stunned silence as uniformed service members, a tapestry of ages and races, stood with unwavering military bearing. By 3 p.m., the line numbered in the hundreds that a local news crew arrived, their reporter bewildered by the silent, powerful display. Whispers rippled through the growing civilian crowd. They're here for the veteran who was turned away. As a van pulled up, Silas Blackwood, now wearing his dress uniform adorned with his silver star, emerged. General Vance escorted him to the front of the line. Hundreds of hands snapped to attention in a silent salute. I didn't come here for myself, Silas said, his voice quiet but resonant. I came for every service member who has ever been judged by appearance. We deserve equal respect. The silence was broken only by the clicking of cameras. Julian Thorne, his face pale, stepped forward. Mr. Blackwood, Sergeant Major Blackwood, I apologize. Silas regarded him with quiet dignity. In the service, he said, his voice carrying a quiet strength, we believe in the possibility of redemption. He extended his hand. The handshake, captured by countless cameras, became the defining image of the day. A month later, the Gilded Pin hosted a Veterans Appreciation Night. Silas rolled the first ball. The crowd roared. Thorne had learned a profound lesson. The silent ranks of veterans, his unexpected teachers.